Good morning, everyone. This is Mark Duran. We want to welcome everyone, our members, non-members, to this training session sponsored by the New Mexico Manufactured Housing Association. The purpose of the training session is recently the Manufactured Housing Division, along with the Manufactured Housing Committee, has engaged in some new and current rulemaking. Some new rules have been adopted in regard to permitting, contractor responsibility for permitting, various things like that. We'll eventually have that exactly explained. And those changes have resulted then in commensurate changes in the IT platform portal system that you all use for permitting. And so what we wanted to do is have this training session to give MHD an opportunity to explain those changes by rule, and then also explain those commensurate changes to the IT system that needed to be changed to conform to the rules. Anytime this happens, there's always change. I understand there's always a little bit of frustration. We've seen bigger changes and we've seen bigger frustrations, that's for sure. And anyone that works on their own IT system understands that any changes are never easy, and many times changes aren't easy to understand, and many times changes, being able to make those changes to begin with are very difficult. So that's the purpose of a good relationship with the Manufactured Housing Division. That's the purpose of the Manufactured Housing Division and the association to be here to train, offer education, offer information, and offer an opportunity to cross-communicate. So that's what we'll do this morning. Let's talk a little bit about agenda. What I'm eventually going to do is turn it over to Jesus Carrasco, who is the MHD administrator, and Quindy Otero from the Manufactured Housing Division and the Regulation and Licensing Department. And then they're going to explain the changes that have taken place on both the rules and regs and also the IT system. And then we're going to go to Q&A. I'll turn it over at that point to Candy Cochran, who is not only a member of the New Mexico Manufactured Housing Association Board of Directors, but is also a Manufactured Housing Committee member. So she sat on the committee that actually adopted these changes. She'll handle the Q&A. And the way we'll handle that, as opposed to, we have a lot of people on the call, which is great. Thank you all for attending. The way we'll do it is once we turn it over to Q&A after the division is done explaining, and we're hoping that many of the questions that you have get answered through their explanation. That's usually the case, but there'll always be then some additional questions. We'll ask you, you don't have to do it now. Let's listen to the explanation from MHD. We'll turn it over to them. Then when we go to Q&A, Candy Cochran is already going to start the process with some questions of her own. And then that's the opportunity for you all in the chat to then input your particular question. It's too big a group to have open questions, and then too much time is taken, and people, quite frankly, aren't succinct enough, and then some questions don't get answered. So what we want to do is have you succinctly put your question in the chat box if it hasn't already been addressed, either through the presentation or through Candy Cochran's questions as she initiates the question and answer session. So with that, let me turn it over to the manufactured housing division, but let me turn it over by beginning to say thank you to the manufactured housing division. These changes and systems we know are difficult to manage. In my opinion, you do a great job doing that. I know those are complex systems. To Jesus Carrasco, who's the mainstay for our industry, always being involved and participating in this training session. And let me take the opportunity for especially our members in the industry to formally introduce you to Quindy Otero. Quindy Otero has been involved in the background at the Regulation and Licensing Department for I don't know how long. Quindy, maybe along the way you can briefly let us know some of your background and how long you've been at RLD. She has become more and more of an interface publicly, not only with our division, but several entities within the Regulation and Licensing Department. She was recently participating at our annual convention and has just been doing a fantastic job helping the superintendent there manage so many aspects of the Regulation and Licensing Department. And I would like to think has taken a special and keen interest in the manufactured housing division, which we appreciate very, very much. So I'm happy to introduce the industry because I don't think we have previously to Quindy Otero. Okay, with that, I am now going to turn this segment over to the Manufactured Housing Division. Quindy and Jesus, I don't know how you'll interact on this, but I'll turn it over to you now to make your presentation.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We're excited that the association was able to put this together and so quickly and efficiently. So, Mark, thank you and your team for going above and beyond for the industry. We appreciate that. A little background, I've been with Regulation and Licensing going on 4 years. I started with Manufactured Housing Division as the permitting clerk. So I have a special place in my heart for manufactured housing and the people that we serve. So I take a special personal interest in what we do with manufactured housing. And it means a lot when we can get these changes and these things pushed out to the community and help our constituents. Jesus, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add before I share our presentation.
No, at this time, again, thank you to the association and thank you, Mark, for sharing a piece about Quindy. I could do what I do with people if I didn't have a team of people like Quindy. Quindy works at all hours and helps us through. So thank you, Quindy, for what you do for MHD.
Yeah, definitely. It's a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen here. Just a quick PowerPoint we put together. The PowerPoint is not, it's to be simplified so that it doesn't get confusing. But again, we're open to all questions. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, so second screen we have here is a copy of the adopted rule change. So the underlined in C, the underline in black, is what prompted the changes to the portal. This was an industry concern regarding the all-in-one permit and how to make specific licensees responsible for the corrections and not the permit holder, which is generally, as we all know, the installer. So with that being said, the correction of any violation, the licensee responsible for the correction of the violation shall pay the reinspection fee and request the reinspection of the manufactured home. So as everyone remembers, and if you don't remember, you're new, the all-in-one permit, it has the different scopes of work on it. A lot of times what would happen is, and I'm not picking on anyone, I'm just going to use the plumber would fail or the electrician would fail. And then there was discussion of how we go about getting that reinspection scheduled, who's responsible for that reinspection fee. So it was heard, the committee heard it, the industry heard it, the division heard it, and it was voted on to streamline this process and make each licensee responsible for their said scope of work and their corrections. So that's what prompted all of this. It did get adopted. There was a rule hearing. I believe it was in September, but I'd have to get you guys the actual date. And then the effective date was January 1st. So with that being said, some changes needed to be made to the portal to ensure that each licensee was held accountable for said scope of work. So our next screen is going to show what the scope of work status was prior to the rule change. So as you can see, this is just a installation with foundation permit. The blocking, hardwire, plumbing, and skirting was all added to this permit. Mind you, this is a training permit. This is not any real, none of these screens are anyone's true permits or inspections. This is just all for the training purposes. So as you can see where it says status right here in this section, prior to the rule change, where it says pending, contractor approval pending, that means that Mr. Fuller and Mr. Pino did not, they were assigned to this permit as the contractor doing the blocking and the electrical work, but they never went into the system and let the installer or the division or the inspector know that they actually agreed to do that work. So a lot of times they could have been added by the installer. They could have been, added at the time of the permit. Sometimes you see that they were adding themselves on the paper permit. So with the statuses prior to the rule change, an inspection would be able to get scheduled, even though these two contractors have not accepted the status of the work and verified that they were doing the work and the work is complete. So after the rule change, what will happen is screen looks exactly the same. No changes made to the screen at all. You guys, everything looks the same. Drop-down menu is the same. On your dashboard, it's exactly the same. The only difference is you can now see that every contractor accepted their assigned scope of work. It shows what day they accepted it. If they rejected it, it would have that same time and date as well. All right. So for the installation and foundation permits to add a contractor, same look. Nothing changed to the look on this screen. You're still going to see your dashboard. You're still going to see manage applications, all applications. So you'll navigate to that left side of the page where it says manage applications, and you'll apply for a new application. So same. This is your dashboard. You're going to click on manage applications. Everyone's doing that status quo as it is today. You're going to click on new applications. It's going to take you to the next screen where you are going to find what type of permit that you're putting. And here is where you're going to start adding contractors. So this is important because this is one way that you can do it. So as the permit holder, when you're applying for this permit, if you already know who's doing the scopes of work, you click on the pencil, pull up the work subtype, which is blocking, click on the pencil, and you add the contractor and hit save. This is currently the way the system looks now. There were no changes made to this. There is one thing that I wanted to add while we had just a tidbit, while we had some time together and there was people from the industry and the field that are using this, is that when you're doing installation and foundation, you're going to want to click new and make sure that you add the type of foundation necessary that you're planning on the application that you're utilizing, whether it's a permanent foundation or an alternative system, so that that scope of work can be added to your permit as well. So just something a little extra that hasn't changed, that's still the same. So moving right along, when you add the foundation portion, you can see I did an example here of alternative. Gives you the work subtype, the type of system, and then the contractor. You'll hit save. Once you hit save, you'll just follow continuing the permit application and submit payment as usual. Nothing on that end has changed. Where we see the changes, and I do have a comparison I can show you, not in this slideshow, but I will pull up another screen once we get through it. But to approve and decline the scope of work, you're still going to see the same dashboard that you see. You're still going to see your same menu here on the left-hand side. You'll want to find the record for the permit that you will be a contractor on, and then you will select the scope of work. So for this example, the permit holder, who is much times the installer, has already created this permit, and he's already added, or she, they have already added the contractors that will be doing the scopes of work. So what is waiting on for this one here is going to be this Mr. Garcia, and Mr. Garcia should have already received his email stating that he has been added to a permit for the hardwire scope of work and to log into his portal. When he logs into his portal, he will see under permits and scope of work, he can either hit approve or decline. Either way, once you hit that, you will get a notification. So just a bigger screen here. This portion of the screen is going to show when someone hasn't been assigned. So if you're still waiting to find out who's going to be doing the electrical work on this installation, the assign button will be there for the permit holder to click assign and add the contractor once they find that out. Again, the contractor still has the opportunity to assign himself, and we'll get to that portion as well. So whether you approve or decline, an acknowledgement or confirmation page is going to pop up. So if you are here and you hit decline, you're going to get this oops, sorry about that. You're going to get this confirmation. Do you want to decline this scope of work? When you click yes, it's going to send that permit holder an email letting them know that you declined the scope of work and that there's no contractor assigned to that. If you approve it with the acknowledgement, do you want to approve the scope of work? And you click yes, it will then send the email saying that contractor has accepted their scope of work and it has been closed. All right, so now I'm going to pick on Mr. Perez. I don't know Mr. Perez. It could be someone made up in our training system. But if Mr. Perez has decided that he is going to do the scope of work for this permit, and I'm sorry, I'm going to jump ahead because I think we're doing electrical again. He is going to go to his portal. He's going to be at his dashboard. Again, we still have the same menu. He's going to click on request installation scope of work. He is going to go to his search bar. He can search that through the permit number, the address, or homeowner name. When he hits search, the permit's going to pull up. Right here on the right-hand side, pull scope of work. Once you click on that, he will get this next drop down. This drop down is going to be specific to the licensee's classification. You'll choose the sub work type that you're going to do, and then you will accept the acknowledgement and hit save. So once the permit holder, installer who has applied for the permit will be notified via email to approve or decline the contractor's request. This is to avoid those circumstances where someone gets added to a permit that should not be on their permit. I'm not saying that happens, but this is going to protect the permit holder, because if the permit holder does not want Mr. Fuller to be doing their skirting, they can decline. Maybe they changed their mind, they're going a different option, they found a different contractor. All of those things happen throughout these types of situations. again, each time one of these buttons is clicked, correspondence is sent via email. Keep in mind that the correspondence is set to the permit holder who actually applied for the permit. So I know there's a lot of instances, and I'll wait for those questions, because I know those are gonna be some of the questions as to, my office manager pulls my permits for me, but I'm the licensee. The licensee is responsible for the work. The licensee is who's gonna be held accountable for the work. So the licensee is going to get the correspondence on the email that they provided on their account as the licensee. All right, so now we get to the request for reinspection page. Again, go to your dashboard. It doesn't look much different with the inspection items. In this section has been added to request reinspection. So here in our test, the plumbing failed. The contractor here, you can see right here is Aaron Aragon, contractor Aaron Aragon. So Aaron Aragon is logged in. He sees that on this permit, his plumbing has failed, and he's going to request the reinspection by clicking that red button. Once he clicks on that, it's going to take him to do the payment portion of that. Just as it is today, this hasn't changed. The next steps as you go through entering your credit card or check information has not changed, and the reinspection will automatically be added to that schedule for the inspector, just as it is today. The only difference with that is that the only person right now, or prior to the rule change, I apologize, that would be able to schedule that reinspection online would be the actual permit holder. And at that point, I will go ahead and open it up to Miss Candy, and we can take questions.
Hey, thank you, Quindy. That was really succinct and thorough. I appreciate it. Before we go to committee member Cochran and our board member Candy, I'll just remind everyone that the session is open to members and to non-members. One of the agreements we have with Manufactured Housing Division is if we're going to do these sort of sessions, we're going to open it up to non-members also, with the objective of everyone understanding the system and making everyone's life easier along the way. With that being said, we're in the process of being in our recruitment cycle for our 2025 membership cycle. And we'd appreciate your membership along the way. Hopefully things like this are helpful, and we do a lot of other things that will be beneficial to your business. Before we go to Candy, Jesus, do you have anything to add to the presentation, or are you going to interface along the way?
I just want to add a couple of things. If a permit has multiple failures, multiple companies fail, each company, based on the rule, each company is responsible for their failure and paying that reinspection. So if we have, let's say, the electrical contractor and the gas contractor have failures, both of them will have to pay for those re-inspections individually. And then as good partners, we're here to assist. If anybody has something isn't working, if your system isn't working, you can't get it to process, you can submit to mhd.info. That email is checked every day, multiple times. Submit your question or your concern. We'll reach out to you either via email or a phone call, and then a follow-up with an email. But we're here to assist in every which way we can. We're your partners. So from there, as questions come up, Mark, either Quindy and I will be answering them. So that's all I got at this time.
Okay, very good. And just one more time before we go to Candy, we're eventually getting to you, Candy. I already saw a note about can we distribute the presentation? We'll make sure we can with the Manufactured Housing Division. I believe we can, and all we'll do is to ask you to reply to the email that we sent out to you, notifying you of the training session, and we'll remind you to do that. And then we'll distribute the presentation with permission from the Manufactured Housing Division that way. So we'll go ahead and take care of that way. All right, Candy, no
Mark,
more.
sorry,
Okay,
sorry, Mark, I have one more that's important. I almost spaced it. I wrote it down. The other component or the other item I want to touch on is posting of permits. If a permit is not posted, we're going to work with the industry because this is a change that the committee wanted for for permits to be posted, physically posted on the houses. We're going to work with people. We're not going to fail it if it's not posted. We're going to continue with our inspection, but just want to share with everybody, we are going to work with the industry. We're not gonna just fail an inspection if it's not posted. And we'll share information with the public, with our industry. As that comes up, we'll call the installer. We'll say, hey, here's what's in rule, here's what's required. We'll work with people, but understand we're not gonna fail an inspection if it's not posted at this time.
very
Thank
good.
you.
Real quick, I apologize, Candy, for interrupting, but I just wanted to show something just real quick so that everyone could kind of have a better understanding of where some of this, I just want to show you. So this, can you all still see that screen?
Yes.
It changed now to a user guide for portal users.
Oh, no, it still says questions.
Oh, does it? Okay, let me see if I can get this to pull up. Give me 1 second. Let me try. Okay, can we see that now?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the original user guide that was put out when the portal was adopted. I believe it was 2021. I don't know the exact date. So as you can see, not much has changed in the aspect of what was currently happening prior to the verbiage of accept and reject scope of work did change. We're using accept and decline now. Accept and reject here. Again, right in here. Same acknowledgements, same pool scope of work. So colors have changed, and a little bit of verbiage has changed in regards to the portal. But the mechanics of it is still the same with the exception of the reinspection portion. So I just wanted to make note that there hasn't been a ton of different changes to the portal from what it previously was to currently. The one major change that makes it different now is that, each licensee is being held accountable for the reinspection. So this gives the opportunity that this portion of accepting the scope of work and pulling your scope of work is noted and documented along the way, as well as the way the system was originally built was that all of this would happen in the application stage. For a lot of folks, those applications go in, and because we don't want to delay work and you can't start work until you have that permit, as we all know, those permits are getting processed. Once the permit was processed prior to the new changes, you wouldn't be able to do a lot of this stuff. And that's where, the division was leaving those pending states that you saw. This user guide is being updated so that we have a new rollout for the updated version coming out. But I just thought it was important that everyone noticed, that these changes are not dramatically different, just a little aesthetics cleanups and things that look a little bit better and make sense to accommodate that rule of each licensee being held accountable for their said scope of work.
Okay.
And just real quick, Mark, also, we are going to post all these presentations on our website. That way, if a crossover contractor or whomever's looking for information, it's available also from our end.
Okay, very good. And Quindy, maybe, yeah, if you'll keep up that presentation. Darn, we're out of time. Sorry, Candy. No, just kidding. I know we
have
spent a lot of time before we got there. You go, Candy, and thank you for all your hard work and your service on the committee. Your agenda now.
Thank you, Jesus and Quindy, for participating and bringing this information to everyone, and Mark for and Will for putting this together. We really appreciate it. Just a few things, if we can just take a step backwards, Quindy. So this shows everything that happens with the new system that came live, or the new changes, excuse me, effective January 1st. So can you tell me what happens with the permits that were pulled prior to January 1st, but have not been inspected yet? Because we're seeing changes on our side on that. For instance, and maybe this is part of the new integration, but just for instance, yesterday we went to pull an inspection or request an inspection, and we no longer have buttons on the side of the permit that says request inspection. And if we go to the manage portion where you click on request inspection, it doesn't allow us to do that. So is that because the contractors have not accepted the scope of work?
So I don't want to speculate, but I can pull it up if you have that permit number and you're okay with me sharing that information. But yes, that's what I'm thinking is that, so permits, inspections that were requested prior to January 1st will not require the accepted stage, because those inspections were previously requested. Now, a permit that was pulled and an inspection has not been requested, and it's now January 15th, the rule is in effect. So that rule will take place. Those contractors will have to accept that scope of work before you will see that request inspection on your screen.
Okay, so on this particular permit, both contractors, the electrician and the plumber, added themselves to the permit.
Okay. Do you mind
yeah,
shooting me
yeah.
that permit number?
Yes, they just brought it to me. It's installation permit number 20243601115.
And Candy, just to elaborate a little bit on that, we are working with folks that obtained their permit prior to the rule change, and we are walking those through. We are having a training session with our staff and the call center. So if anybody gets stuck in that, again, they can send something to mhd.info. That way we're tracking those. But we are working with the industry and the community, even the homeowners, on some of those. So we'll get them through manually, and then once we just have new permits, the system will take it from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, are you okay with me sharing this information, or would you rather me just explain it to you?
No, you can share it. It's fine. I'm sure if one person's having it, others might be too.
So the screen that you guys are about to see is actually our internal screen. I don't know, Candy, if you wanted to log into your portal, we could walk you through it. Let's see, let me get this over to the shared screen. It will still give you the information. Give me just a second. I appreciate your patience.
No problem.
Okay, so here is that permit. I'll just go to the front here. Here's the permit. Here's the scope of work. So it looks like the electrician was able to get on, looks like late last night, and he was able to accept. So we're waiting here for the gas. And we can show you here on the back end that once Mr. Yutley, I don't know how you pronounce that. Once he logs into his portal, he will be able to see that. So that I mean, I
So-
can certainly give him a call today, or I can have my frontline staff give him a call, and send that
So-
over.
So what I'm asking is like him, he added himself. So what is his next step to approve it at this point, since this was a permit before the changeover? Because
No,
he
so
logged in yesterday and he couldn't see anything.
well, he added himself, so he went to the screen that said assign, and then
Uh-huh.
it sends it on this one, actually it would send Rick that email letting him know. So this is going to be on Rick's portal for the permit holder to approve him to be on there. So that's going to
so-
be going back to, I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry, but so when I clicked on the email link that Rick got, we just had a blank white screen. We didn't have anything to accept. So where would we go now?
To your dashboard.
Okay,
So you'll go to your dashboard and it's going to be,
Candy, would it be possible for you to log in and share your screen? That way we can see what you're seeing? Or,
yeah, that would be extremely helpful if you don't mind. And actually, it's gonna have to be Rick that logs in, because I know you have your own login, if I remember correctly.
actually, I don't, we did away with that a long time ago because, we,
Simplifies it.
yeah, we don't have to log back in and accept the scope of work. So we do everything as, Rick. I apologize. I'm on my laptop, not on my work computer. Can you give me the website?
Oh, yeah.
And you know what, if this is gonna just be one specific, we could miss it. I mean, we could do this later, but if other people, is there a lot of outstanding?
I would venture to say that this is gonna be helpful, because I feel like a lot of people on here have that same question, and I think this would be beneficial if you're okay with it.
Let's do it.
thank you, Mark. And thank you, Quinn or Candace.
You just get you.
So
the
while
link.
I'm logging in, I apologize. We have staff with us, so I did my laptop in the break room and it doesn't have all my shortcuts, so my
Well,
apologies.
that's okay. I'm navigating, finding the chat button again, so bear with me. I'm not the.
Whose screen are we seeing now? Your screen, Quindy, or your screen, Candy?
Wendy.
Mine
I
shouldn't
think it's
even
mine, yeah.
shared yet.
Okay, okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was seeing mine and others. Okay.
Okay, and then let me just go back to the chat here and I'll put there you go. Okay. You should
So
be able to click on
while
it.
I'm pulling this up, so what is, when the people get, so an installer adds a contractor, are they still getting the email notification, and does that have a link directly, or they just get the notification and they have to log in?
Just get the notification and it's gonna take them to log into the portal. They have to log in, and that's for security purposes. So in the event someone inadvertently, I hope it would never happen, gets that email, they don't go straight to your dashboard.
Thank you.
And then I saw another question on here that we can just address now, is that where some contractors don't have a computer and you know, don't have the ability to have access to the system. If they're involved in the permitting system, 10 years ago, we made allowances for that. I think there's no longer any allowances made for that. We just don't know what to do about that, except for them to get help by someone, or be able to log into a computer themselves.
That is correct, Mark. And just so you know, we do have staff available. We have computers in our offices that they can come down. We've had people come in recently, and our frontline staff has sat with them, taught them how to log in, showed them how to walk through the process. So I do know we are trying to be very diligent about it, but since we are on an online portal, like most of other municipalities, it is an online portal.
Yeah. Very good. And thanks for even doing that. That is just great. I've lost the patience to do that, so congratulations and thank you for doing that.
Because he hasn't accepted the scope of work. Yeah. So like she's saying we have to accept it. Okay,
Nice.
can you see my screen now?
I can't. Let me stop sharing and then maybe that will help.
Andy, you'll have to use the share button at the bottom of the screen.
Multiple can share at. Mine's saying multiple, we both can share at the same time. Do I need to do something else?
Don't know. You should just have to click the share button and it should pull up options of programs that you have open to share.
Oh,
Candace, oh, there you go.
okay. Okay, so it's this first one here, Casada. So in the old screen, we under the next action, it would say you could request your inspection, and if everybody you had to confirm, or if the contractors weren't in there, it wouldn't allow you to request it. So now all that is completely gone.
Scroll down
So-
on this right-hand side for me. This gray bar up a little more. Yes, right there. If you'll scroll down for me, right here.
Yeah.
So on the right-hand side, there's that gray bar that you can scroll up or down. I'm sorry, on the left-hand side where it says, where your menu is.
So request installation scope?
Permits and scope of work. I'm sorry, you were right. You can do it from here. You can do it from either one. So I'm sorry, go back. I'll get it together here. We'll be on the same page. Okay, so you should be able to find the permit number now. 0115. You do have to put the INST.
Oh,
If you scroll down, it should pop up, and then if you click the little caret, so these are closed, you would have to, and it's gonna, I'm sorry, it's very specific, so you do have to do the INST in caps, the underscore.
jeez. I hate typing when people are watching.
I know, it's nerve-wracking, it's okay.
I've been in your position, Candy, under pressure like this.
This is why
It's
you had me
awful.
do it today, right?
But there's an underscore.
No
I'd be
pressure,
sweating now.
no pressure, we'll fumble through it together. All right, and then you can hit search, the little burnt orange search. All right, now click on the caret to the left of where it says scope of work. In blue, and then on the left, there's like a little caret facing, there you go. If you scroll down. Now you can just approve him or decline him.
But see, it's grayed out. Oh, it still
And then
works.
hit yes. And now, ma'am, you are ready to schedule your inspection.
I swear I didn't see that there yesterday. Maybe we never go to this screen. I guess we all have to learn to navigate a little different, right?
And the difference that you probably don't recognize because that feature wasn't being utilized because of the roadblocks with it having to be done in the application stage, which is one of the modifications we did. You can now do it at any time. And then just make sure you click that caret is what I call it, or the half triangle on scope of work. And then that will show which scope of work you need to approve or decline. And this eliminates, sometimes you get homeowners or whomever, and they, you know, want to be added to a permit. This lets you have control of who's doing what to your permit, which to my understanding was a big concern in the industry.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
then go ahead and hit request inspection and it's going to take you to your payment screen.
So what? So it doesn't give us a pop-up now that it's confirms it's been inspected?
So put your permit number in. This is, I'll let everyone know ahead of time. This is one of the enhancements that I'm hoping when we get some more funding to do enhancements, that you won't have to re-put the record number in. But that will be future down the road.
Well, I guess this is kind of helpful because our screens are a little different than yours, right?
Yes.
So what should we be seeing here? Because it's not doing anything from this screen.
Your inspection was already scheduled. So now the
Right, but
only
we
thing,
didn't get a confirmation or anything. Is it sending us an email that we are?
yes, and I'm checking for that email right now.
Candace, click on the caret for permit type selection, select an option.
Oh,
Right there. I just want to see what's there.
Can you scroll down to that last one? We can't see it, Candy, the last item, the gray bar on the right, okay. Okay, and is MHD solar array permit the last item?
CID application.
Okay, right after MHD solar array?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, so you should have received your email, and then the payment information. So this also tells me that you have your payment information saved in your portal, which is another reason why we don't want a link in an email going straight to your portal.
exactly.
Yes, I did just get a confirmation. So we just don't see it on our screen now. We just strictly see it through the email.
Correct.
Okay, well, hopefully that's helpful to everyone.
The whole thing was helpful. The whole thing was helpful.
Seeing Candy crack under pressure.
You did crack. You bent a little, but you did not crack. Okay,
So-
Candy, you want to go to the next?
So, I think we addressed a few of them that about contractors needing help and the multiple fails. I think Jesus has addressed that, and about the emails. Do we have any other questions coming in?
Well, I think now, Candy, you'll just go to the chat box.
So can the permit be shown on a picture of the permit? There's a lot of people who live out of town who can't get a printed copy. Please post that information on the portal. It will be very handy for other contractors who do not have any idea of changes.
Well, they're gonna post on the portal of the changes, but the first question, part of the question was, what was it, Candy? Can you have a picture of the permit and somehow work
Right.
with a picture of the permit? I don't know in what instance, but maybe you can articulate.
So I think what, and I don't know if Wendy's screen will show it, or I could open mine back up, but there's an hourglass in there once the permit is purchased, that people can click on that hourglass and then you can see the permit. So that's one of that kind of coincides with another question that I had as well, is one of the big, just to give everybody a little bit of feedback to why that regulation on the permit going away didn't really go away from the committee, was, on the land home financing, a lot of times the retailer needs that final permit for their lender to close the land home loan. So I think that's one of what they're pertaining to, but the question is, when we pull an initial permit, if we don't have the electrician and the plumber at the time, that stays blank. So now with everyone having to accept their scope of work, is there a final permit that we can obtain through the system that gives everybody the picture of the permit, you know, which it does show up in PDF form, but the question would be, Quindy, is when they can get that picture of the permit, their PDF copy, will it now have all contractors on it once everyone's scope of work has been accepted?
Yes, it should. Once you print it now, and I haven't heard or seen on our end that it's not happening. So if that isn't happening, we would love to know.
Okay. And I'm trying to figure out the second part of that question there. Oh, they're asking about it being posted on the portal. And I think Jesus did address that a little earlier, that all these changes will be posted on the RLD website. Is that correct?
The presentations, the guide, this presentation and the guide will be posted on the website for anybody to use, review, as a follow-up tool.
The guide, like I said, is being modified as we speak. But the guide as it stands is the same process, just a couple verbiage changes, and everyone has access to that guide.
Oh,
For those of you that are logged into your portal on the left-hand side, let me share my screen again just for verification purposes. So right here on the left-hand side, when you're logged into your portal, you can see down here where it says MHD user guide. You can download that PDF. Anyone who has access to their portal has access to that user guide. And like I said, it does have the previous verbiage, which is going to look very much the same. Let me just go back to 38 where it requests the scope of work. And we will have the presentation up to show the changes. Once this user guide gets updated, it'll be changed to have the mirror rather the verbiage on, instead of it saying it's approve and decline, it'll say approve and decline as opposed to accept or reject. So, I mean, minor verbiage changes that need to be updated to the portal when you're looking at that user guide until it gets updated. But the process is still the same.
Thank you.
and if I could just add, boy, I was the worst at wanting to go look at a user guide, right? Because it's another part of a computer system that you just don't want to get into. But boy, once you get in there, you really start to understand systems better. And this seems pretty streamlined, MHD. Congratulations on that. So big encouragement to get into that user guide to become that much more versatile on the system. Okay, Candy, we're back to you on questions.
One of the big things that prompted committee to keep the permits was the fact that in the system, after a permit was had passed inspection, we could no longer access the report of the pass. And I see one of our questions is, it says, saw on the permits we had requested final inspections last year. Our scopes of works were deleted and we had to re-add them, or the contractors had to go in there and accept the scope of work again. So can you tell it, these are he says in this question that these were permits pulled in November and December. So can you give us a little bit of insight on, I think we covered part of that in going back through my permit and just some of the system changes there about having to actually go into the working side of that permit instead of the actual permit. But can you elaborate on the reports now, how we see and how our old permits are going to be affected versus our new permits on the reporting side once we pass our felon inspection?
So Candace, if we can get those permit numbers, because nothing should be deleted. If we can get those permit numbers, Quindy and I will research them. We'll go through the history, see what happened, see if they were deleted. What could possibly happen is those scopes of work were never added. We were performing inspections without all scopes of work added or accepted, just to work with the industry till we got everybody on board. But I'm very interested to get those permit numbers if we can, so we can do some research on our end. Take it from there, Quindy.
I think you summed it up. I want to make sure that we answered the question, but yes, going back to just to reiterate, if the permit was pulled and approved prior to January 1 and an inspection was not requested, all scopes of work will have to be accepted in order for that inspection to be requested. If, let's say, the permit that we were looking at of yours, Candace, that was applied for and issued on December 17th. And let's say the inspection was, the scopes of work were added, but not accepted by all contractors, and the inspection was already performed, it will stay as is because the rule wasn't into effect until January 1 that each licensee was going to be responsible for their work and reinspection.
Thank you. And just to address Jesus's portion on that of some that may have been deleted, that was Manuel with Dragon's question. So Manuel, if you could get directly with Jesus or Quindy with those permit numbers, we could look at those specifically if there's still issues outstanding with those.
And for
Yes,
anyone
please.
else.
Correct.
Absolutely. And
Daniel just said, okay. Can you, I don't know who's speaking now about that. I'll let you, but, and then Candy, I know there's some other questions, but can you make sure to go to Max's question next, and then you can go back in order. And for everyone, we have the division for a half hour longer. I don't know if we need to take that, but they're available and we're already here, so let's take the time. And so we still have some more time, so keep the questions coming. Sorry, Quindy, I think I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. I will also, I just want to add in there that I can do it now or whenever you guys are ready. I'd be happy to put my contact information in the chat for those instances. I believe you said it was Manuel with Dragon Transport, that we can get together and look at those specifics. So we can answer other questions now, or if other questions have been answered and you want to take it to that point so everyone sees that, I'm open to any of it. And I have time, I blocked off extra time just in case we had a multitude of questions that needed to be addressed.
Yeah, let's stay on, let's keep going. Post your contact information at any time, excuse me, in the chat box. And Candy, please continue.
Max's question is, will we be able to get a PDF of the permit or a printable record of the inspection after it has passed to show the lenders that the home has passed inspection? Right now, we've been taking screenshots to satisfy them, but after a period of time, we are no longer able to access the past permit line on the portal. That kind of goes right along with what I was asking earlier, if that's going to stay, if that has been changed, is it accessible now? And if so, how long will we have access to that?
So to make sure that I understand the question, Max, when you are saying past inspection, you are wanting a copy of the permit or you're wanting a copy of the actual inspection that says passed. So
The
it would help
act-
me.
Do
And
me
a
a
second,
favor, Will, go ahead and unmute Max.
follow-up to Max's question. Max, are you the installer and the dealer, or are you just a dealer and somebody else is the installer?
So I am, so to answer Jesus' question, in this particular case, we are the dealer. But we kind of help manage our, want to be involved in all of our permitting, with our installers. So, which kind of makes it a little complicated when we're trying to get information, but, we can deal with that on our side.
And lots of retailers are wanting to do that, right, Max? So, all good.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you know, we're the ones interfacing with the customer, so, you know, everybody's interfacing with us, we're interfacing with the customer. Customer's asking us questions, we need to be able to get information, and so when.
No, perfect,
when-
Max. The only reason I asked the question is so for clarity, which one are we dealing with? So let's start with the one that you're the dealer and somebody else is the installer.
Sure, so what
Quindy-
we want is we want a document that can be printed that says that our final inspection has passed.
So
Whether that's a copy of the permit with a stamped passed on it, or a line item that says the inspection was passed on such and such a date, or a separate document that references the permit that said it was passed. Because right now we've basically got some lines on our portal saying it's passed, and we snap a screenshot, and it's, you know, we try to send that to a lender, and they don't know what we're talking about. You know, it's just a line item. It's not like anything official. So we're looking for
Okay.
something official if we can get it.
Perfect. So Quindy, I think we have two questions that you and I need to circle back with IT. One of them is, can we send a final, email to the licensee that says this inspection has passed? That's one. The other one, Quindy, we need to do a follow-up with IT to see how we grant access, and I'm going to use that terminology for right now, but we'll clean it up. Grant access to retailers, dealers that are dealing with this address, this installation, so they have access to the portal for that permit to be able to print the PDF copy. Would that help, Max? Is that something where we want to go?
Yes, you know, sure. If we can get notification, because I don't think anywhere on a installation permit it even mentions the dealer. You know, there's
So
no contact information for the dealer that sold the home, and you know, the dealer's the one that's really doing all the you know, the talking communication with the customer.
So
Is there,
I'm glad,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Jesus, go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up, Max. Excellent, excellent. So what happened was previous to January 1st of 2025, it was kind of, don't make these fields mandatory. We're working with the industry and all parties. Now we're going to get into the mandatory fields, and that's where we're going to see the dealer information must be in our permits. And in order to connect the dealer, in my opinion, and Quindy, step in when you're ready. In order to connect the dealer to be able to have access to this, that mandatory field for the dealer's information on a new house permit has to be filled out. And that's how we're going to be able to connect the dealer to have access to print that permit and receive that pass inspection.
Yes, and that's one of the enhancements that was brought up prior to, I'm sure you remember. I believe it was at the rule hearing, so that is one of the enhancements that we are working on. Furthermore, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesus, but a dealer can pull the permit so they have access to all of this as opposed to being reliant on their installer, correct?
a dealer cannot pull an installation permit unless they have a dealer license, but the mandatory fields and Mark and industry members that are on this call with us today, once we make that a mandatory field, it's going to be a little bit of training. Everybody, we all hate change, but it's going to be a little bit of training. Before we go that route, we got to train everybody, start training everybody. The purpose of making that a mandatory field is so that dealers have access to the information as they're the ones dealing with the homeowner.
So,
Excuse me,
Jesus,
could
let
I-
me just ask something on that. What mandatory field are you talking about? Does it require a rule change? Is that just an IT system change? Whatever change is required, when will that happen?
So right now, I think it's only an IT change. The permit does have the dealer information. A lot of people aren't filling them out. So it was kind of from previous, just, hey, let's work with it. Let's work with it. I think we're now, because of Max's question, we're here now that at some point, I don't know when, but at some point we make that a mandatory field that will allow the dealers to now start getting this information via email.
And then when you say make it a mandatory field, that's a request to IT. If there's enough support for it, request to IT to make it a mandatory field. I was just looking at Kathy Favors' comment, and she's wanting exactly what Max is asking for, and we hear it a lot from the industry. Is the interface of the retailers onto the system. They can't do anything. They can't change anything, but they can interface into it. And so I'll follow up with MHD on that. And officially now we'd like to make the request. But I know it's not that simple. But hopefully that can happen in the future.
Perfect. And I think, Mark, if you, Quindy, and I can sit down and whiteboard it, I see my famous whiteboard back there. If we can whiteboard it, come up with a plan, then we'll present to the superintendent and then go from there.
So sorry to jump in on this subject, but until that happens, this kind of goes to Quindy's point. So I also have an installation license, which but we contract out all our installations. Would I be able to actually be the permit holder and then assign all the work, the scope of work, to essentially the subcontractor who's also a licensed installer? And
That's
at that
correct.
point, I would be able to manage the entire permit,
Yes,
since I would be the point of contact and the permit holder.
Correct.
yes, you can, Max.
So if you have a deal, so if you don't have an installation license, I guess we're gonna need to continue to work on getting the information back to the dealers. But if you do have one and you subcontract all your installs, then that would be a solution.
Yes, sir.
Max, can I ask you while you're on, can you look at Craig's comment? And then see if that just got addressed by everyone or if that's unique to this discussion?
Let's see, Craig's is the multiple fails.
No, you need
No.
both a dealer's and
So-
installer's license to pull them currently as a dealer. I
So
guess that's what
I'll
we were just
answer,
talking about, right?
I'll answer Craig's question, and good morning, Craig. Just like I explained before, and we're explaining to Max, you can pull the permit under your installer license, and then you're subbing out work to that installer. The installer would be the one on the scope of work. That way, that installer, we can track violations or pass or all that good information. But yes, it's allowed. That's the process to follow.
Okay, Candy.
And a lot of people are asking about that PDF and the proof of the passing, Quindy. So one thing I would just like to, express to all the installers that are on here is, as the installer and the contractors on the permit, you do get that email that that permit's passed. So my recommendation would be currently, while we're working through these changes, you know, and our goals to get to where we want to be, is for the installers to be sharing a copy of that permit and their past email to the retailer. The other thing, correct me if I'm wrong, Quindy, but if the installers provide a copy of the permit number to their retailer, it is public information. So the retailer does have access to look it up if the installer's providing them their permit numbers. Is that not correct?
That's correct, yes. And yes, you took the words right out of my mouth, because those emails do go directly to the permit holder.
Now, I have tried putting retailers, when we pull the permits, there's a box for homeowner email. And I have tried putting the retailer's email in there to see if the retailer would get it. But unless that homeowner is, if this is correct me if I'm wrong, unless that homeowner is listed and has obtained an affidavit, that email box really doesn't generate an email. Is that correct?
Correct, it's for informational purposes only.
Okay. So one of our questions we have from Palm Harbor is, we have customers who hire contractors who are licensed with the state, meaning CID, but they're not crossover or MHD licensed. They would like to know how they can assist them with that and who they can refer them to with the state.
So to get licensed with manufactured housing?
Mhm. So it's simple, Quindy or Candace, they would have to become a crossover license, they'd have to apply with PSI. But if they have questions, they can always reach out to Quindy, myself, or Kathy Joe. Catherine Torres is the CID MHD licensing manager. And Quindy, will you share Kathy Joe's information on the chatter, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So on the permits, you know, one of the really big change on this regulation change is the fact that everyone has to be accountable for the permit, whether it's a plumber who fails, an electrician who fails, everybody pays their fine. So this is a great question. So if we have an installer who fails on multiple scopes of work, say he fails on his tie downs and blocking, is he paying one fine or two fines?
He's Candy, to answer that question, he's paying one fine. The installer, well, I think it's one fine. We'll do some more research, but the installer has that permit. It's the individual crossover contractors that are attached to that permit. But we will follow up. Quindy and I will follow up, and we'll make sure that we get back to you guys on that one. Or do you have that answer right now, Quindy?
It should be one per contractor, whether they failed 5 items or 1 item. But I will double check to make sure that it's processing correctly. And if anyone that's on the group has seen something other than that, please jump in and let us know.
Andy?
I don't know the answer to it. I feel like we addressed it in committee, and I feel like the installer just pays one fine, but I can't say that we ever got a final from legal on that. So that's why I said it's a great question.
I believe it's just payment of one fine. Go ahead, Candy.
For that installer.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a I'm not sure if this is, the name's cut off on part of mine, and so I'm not sure if this is an installer or a dealer. But they're asking about, I'm just gonna read you the whole question, 'cause it's got some different parts to it. Please forgive me as I was a little late. One of the issues as a dealer is county permits. Some counties require the blocking permit for the submission of the county permit. Sometimes we don't have all the contractors hashed out prior to working. Can a blocking permit be issued without contractors? It can, as long as you list your scopes of works, correct? Jesus or Quindy?
I believe it does allow you to obtain a permit. You can add scopes of work later. I believe so. Quindy, do you agree or disagree, Quindy?
No, that is correct.
So
Yeah.
with that being said, do we no longer, in the past, when we pulled a permit, if, say we thought it was propane and we didn't add the plumber because we thought it was propane, and later we find out it's natural gas. In the past, we've had to send an email to the mhd.info and have them added. So are you saying now we have access to to add those additional scopes without emailing the state to add them?
I'm not sure on that.
You should be able to go into the permit and add a new scope of work.
And
Andy, can I go back briefly, if I can, just to the posting of the permit? It's what I initially heard. Hopefully it's been addressed. That posting of the permit, can you one more time discuss why it needs to be posted? And then I understand you're not going to enforce it not being posted. And I don't know if that will be in perpetuity or temporarily. Can we review that one more time?
Can I just have some input on that before you answer that? Hey, Sue,
Yes, yes,
from the
please do.
committee perspective, the reason why committee did not approve the regulation change for the permit to go away was exactly what the majority of everyone is asking for, is they need that final permit. And in the past, that permit got the tag and the sign off for the installation. This is separate from the green tag of the foundation. The permit, the installation permit was posted, the inspector signed off on it, and that was a written pass. So when we lost the ability to get the report out of the computer system, committee said, we can't lose our paper permit. So, you know, that's kind of a twofold. Everyone on here is saying that, can we get a printable copy of the permit? So we still need that printable copy with everybody on it. So if the permit is posted, is the inspector signing off on it? Or are you just 100% working on a pass email? I mean, so how are they getting, how is a retailer getting that if it's not being posted?
so Mark, to answer your question and to answer Candy's question, when we presented to the committee, we presented that when this question came up, that the permit would be PDF available in the system. That's when the discussions took place, that the placing of the permit, the paper permit, was that they were going to enforce that and require it because they were using that for financial purposes to close out their loan. And the PDF is available. They can print them. We've tested it several times, and so it's a double. We're duplicating by having them to post the permit on the house when it's available PDF. We're not going to enforce it. Who knows for how long? We'll follow up. You, Mark, Quindy, and I will follow up with our superintendent, and we'll go from there. But the PDF is available. Now, to elaborate on Candace's question
Just
earlier.
on that point before you go, Jesus, because that's a big deal, right? The
Mhm.
PDF is available.
Mhm.
This posting and it being windblown and it being the document we're trying to use to close a legal loan.
Yeah.
That PDF comes from the system, is official, and that's important. Candy, do you think, and Jesus, do you think everyone understands where that PDF is?
So
It's
to
available?
let me expand a little bit, and then because it'll circle back to this. Where the problem lies, and I think we touched on it earlier, is the installer doesn't get the information to the retail dealer, and so they can't get that copy. I think we can work on something. I hope we can. Quindy and I will circle back with IT to make sure that the dealers granted access to be able to print that. Um, we'll start making calls as soon as we get off the call to see how we get that done. Correct, Quindy?
Correct.
Okay, very, very good. And can you remind me, Jesus, that was the second item you were going to touch base with IT on. What was the first one?
Or the installer reinspection fees. If it's one, if they failed multiple, is it one or multiple?
That's right. Okay, very, very good. I'm sorry, please go ahead with the second part of your answer.
Oh, that's connecting the dealer so the dealer can get access, because like Candace, and I think it was Candace, and if it wasn't, I'm sorry, Candy. Um, the lack of communication, the installer doesn't get that report or that permit or that email to the dealer, and that's where there's a breakdown. Correct, Candy and Max?
Yes, I mean, it is there. That is correct. If the installers provide the retailer with the permit number, it is public information that the retailer can access with without having to log into the system. That is correct. I'm just reviewing some of these other questions. A lot of them, it seems like we've answered through going through here. That there, I think Quindy has confirmed that once the final with the new permit, once all contractors have signed off, you should be able to get a final permit with all the contractors signed off on it. That's something that didn't change in the past, and that's multiple questions that have popped up today. They are asking if a retailer can log into the RLD site. A retailer can access the regulation and licensing website, and you can access the portal as a retailer. You just have to have the permit number or the address or the homeowner's name to search your permit. You don't have a login as a retailer unless you're a licensed installer. One thing that, as Quindy mentioned earlier, the system is extremely sensitive. So what we run into up here is what we run into in San Juan County is we're rural and we have a lot of county roads. So we might have a general contractor who pulls a foundation permit as, say, road 3950, and I might pull an installation permit as County Road 3950. And so then there's issues in locating permits. So if your installer will provide you with that permit number, it will simplify it for you, just in case someone has entered the address differently or misspelled the customer's names or something. But that is accessible for you
I have
through
a
public information.
question. Of course, for Mark and the industry, everybody in this call, as we're talking about uh dealers and retailers needing that information, just want to put something out there. You guys, let's think about it. We don't have to make a decision. But would it simplify if we grant access to a dealer or or dealer or retailer to be able to obtain the permit? Then they add the scopes of work for the contractors, the subcontractors, what are you, installer and subcontractors. Example, I'm going to use Max. Max pulls his permit as a dealer, and then he adds the installers, the scope of work, plumber, electrician, so forth, skirting, and as he's managing the whole project, now he's got full access. Just wanted to put that out there, and we don't have to, we're not going to make a change right now, but I want us, as the industry, to start thinking about some solutions, and see if that works for you guys.
I think the answer is going to be an absolute yes, Jesus. But I don't know. Do you want to comment on that, Max?
I mean, that's basically what I brought up. Yeah. I
Yes.
mean, we're doing it anyway. It just would make our job a whole lot easier if we had all that information right in front of us. We know when things fail. We know who we need to call. We know who needs to be on the job to get the customer, their house approved, so I'm with you on that.
But let's have some follow-up, Mark, if whenever you have some time, you, Quindy, and I know you're going to be extremely busy pretty soon, but let's have some follow-up so we can present something to the superintendent.
Okay. Very good. And if anyone wants to know why Max gets unmuted, well, he's on our board of directors. And so if you want to be unmuted in the future, please run for our board of directors. All right, Candy, how about one more and then we'll wrap it up. It's been fantastic. 51 participants. And quite frankly, we just started advertising this, I think, on Saturday. So this is really helpful. I get the feeling this is just something we should be doing quarterly, whether there's been a rule change or not. MHD, if you agree to it, I think it'd be a good idea.
Yes, sir. We agree.
Okay, we'll continue to talk about that. One more, Candy, that you think's relevant?
Yes, Quindy, so we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I don't think that we've really addressed the time frame on this. So with the one of the big things that prompted a lot of this with the permit staying was the lack of ability of reporting. So when a permit fails, that information never goes away off of the state's website. But when a permit passes after 24 hours, the information was going away. So the question is, how long are the records going to be available on the website now on a past inspection?
I'm sorry, I was muted. So let me look into that. I don't see where it shouldn't be available and it's leaving within 24 hours. I don't know if you want to log into your portal again. I can have them take a look at it. I mean, time permitting, that is. But you should be able to see that still on there, on your portal, whoever is the permit holder.
Okay, maybe that's something you and I could look at after the fact and we could get that back to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like what
Alright.
Quindy said. Candy, we'll do some screen sharing. We'll get IT when we set it up. Quindy and I will be on there. We'll do some screen sharing. That way we can see what you see and get to the bottom of it. But the permit history, the past permit history should always stay there. So I do want to look into that.
And I think what everyone's referring to is the reporting, you know, just for clarification on that. If you fail, you know, if a permit fails, it goes in and it has, you know, RCMHS did blocking pass, electrician failed, you scheduled 30 or something, you know, and it goes on and on. And then if it passes, we used to have that report and it was, we could, within 24 hours, we could get that. And now it just says pass.
Okay, yeah, we'll set something up with IT and then that way we can share some screens and go over that and get to the bottom of that.
We appreciate it. We appreciate your time and we appreciate all the participation. This is great number of participants, over 52 today. And thank you, Mark and Will, again for putting this together, and Quindy and Jesus for all you do for our industry.
With that closed, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. You guys
Thank
have a good
you.
afternoon. We'll see you. Bye-bye.